The Auditor-General provides assurance to Parliament on the accountability and performance of the Victorian public sector. The Auditor-General conducts financial audits and performance audits and reports on the results of these audits to Parliament. On the 12th of December 2013, the Auditor-General tabled his performance audit report, Tourism Strategies. We have all witnessed the world getting smaller over time, with travel becoming easier, cheaper, and more frequent. In 2012, 1 billion people crossed international borders, and this number is expected to nearly double by 2030. Victoria sees about 60 million recreational and tourist visits each year, generated by international and interstate visitors together with Victorians making local recreational trips. These visitors contribute to the economy and employment when spending on Victorian goods and services. Tourism strategies released in 2006 and most recently in July 2013 have aimed to grow tourism's contribution to the state by making Victoria a leading destination in the region, recognising the importance of tourism to the economy, and growing tourism in a way that is consistent with broader government policy and effectively tapping into the fastest growing growth economies. Both identified largely consistent priority areas where government needed to act, ranging from demand-related initiatives such as branding and marketing campaigns, through to supply measures to encourage infrastructure development and better equipping the industry's workforce. Tourism Victoria leads the implementation of these tourism strategies. The Department of State Development, Business and Innovation developed the 2006 strategy, while Tourism Victoria did this for the 2013 update. Their successful delivery also involves coordinating the actions of other relevant departments and a range of tourism agencies. We focused our audit on the effectiveness of the 2006 strategy by assessing its development, implementation, and evaluation. With the release of the 2013 strategy in July, we also documented the implications of our findings for this updated strategy. We concluded that the 2006 strategy had been partly effective because it was based on sound research and extensive consultation, and Tourism Victoria had implemented the parts of the strategy aligning with its core business. However, the parts of the strategy relying on extensive cross-government cooperation faltered. These included infrastructure and workforce development, where progress was clearly delayed or not evident, and other areas where coordination was not clear, for example, business events. It was also clear that Tourism Victoria had not reliably measured the strategy's impacts and outcomes, and could not demonstrate that it had fully understood its strengths and weaknesses. While we have seen some improvement in Tourism Victoria's preparations for implementing the 2013 strategy, the absence of comprehensive plans to guide and evaluate this whole-of-government strategy remains a critical weakness that needs to be addressed. The absence of specific mechanisms to drive cross-government implementation and make plans that clearly define deliverables, timelines, and agencies' roles mean filling this gap should be a high priority for Tourism Victoria. We go into a little more detail on our planning, implementation, and evaluation findings. While the 2006 strategy was soundly based, agencies were not ready to implement all its actions and evaluate its outcomes. Part of this delay can be attributed to the government's decision not to proceed with a cross-government and industry advisory council to lead and oversee the strategy. This commitment was included in the strategy, but 1 year after its release, government decided not to proceed with this based on Tourism Victoria's advice. Finalising the mid-level plans to guide the strategy took a year longer than expected, and Tourism Victoria has not developed the type of detailed plans we viewed as essential for effectively managing a strategy of this type. By the time the strategy was launched, Tourism Victoria had not worked out how best to evaluate the strategy and did not subsequently address this gap. It remains a concern to us that despite Tourism Victoria being better prepared in developing its mid-level plans, 6 months into the 2013 strategy, it has still not documented detailed implementation and evaluation plans. Just over a year after its launch, Tourism Victoria became the lead agency for the 2006 strategy because the government decided not to go ahead with alternative government arrangements. Under these circumstances, it was not surprising that we found that the implementation was better for priority areas within Tourism Victoria's existing core roles and responsibilities. For example, we found that state branding and tourism marketing activities were implemented as intended. However, the picture was less positive for actions requiring significant input from other government agencies, such as regional destination development and better decision-making. For example, we found no evidence of significant progress or indeed a coherent approach to delivering essential tourism infrastructure, and the promised tourism workforce development plan was delayed by several years. In addition, we found issues around role clarity between regional tourism boards and government agencies, in part because the 2006 strategy did not include formal arrangements for cross-government cooperation and reporting. Tourism Victoria tried to influence wider policies and actions through advocacy, but this did not result in an effective cross-government approach. This potential weakness remains for the 2013 strategy. We did not find that Tourism Victoria had advised government about this, and in the absence of formal mechanisms, Tourism Victoria urgently needs to develop detailed and comprehensive implementation plans. Overall, we found the 2006 strategy had not been adequately evaluated and reviewed. The information shows overall positive signs for expenditure and better growth than our interstate rivals. The caveat is that hidden within this trend is stagnant expenditure in regional Victoria. However, there are uncertainties around the content and reliability of how a visit is defined and what is included in expenditure. For example, tourism and events expenditure includes any day trip where a person travels more than 25 kilometres outside of their usual environment. While capturing recreational and tourism trips, it also includes, for example, someone travelling more than 25 kilometres to buy a car that is wholly unconnected to tourism strategies. We have recommended that Tourism Victoria better understand and communicate these uncertainties. More generally, the information collected and reported to the board, which evolved and varied over time, did not allow it to understand how well Tourism Victoria was achieving government's high-level goals or the intended outcomes from priority areas. Also, it was not underpinned by a premeditated, comprehensive and rigorous evaluation framework. For the 2013 strategy, the evaluation framework is under development. The updated regional tourism strategy identifies indicators, but Tourism Victoria needs to finalise a comprehensive evaluation framework, and best practice involves doing this before releasing a strategy. Our recommendations relate to the conclusions and findings we have presented. Firstly, it is critical that Tourism Victoria documents detailed implementation and evaluation plans, covering all of the strategy's objectives and actions. Secondly, Tourism Victoria needs to complete its review of the 2006 strategy so it can advise government on how it should manage the similar risks applying to the 2013 strategy. VAGO is concerned by the absence of a response to this report by the department and Tourism Victoria's partial acceptance of our first two recommendations. For the first recommendation, its response falls well short of addressing the clear need for an effective platform for the whole of government implementation of the 2013 strategy. The response accepts the need to do this for those areas under Tourism Victoria's direct control, but provides no mechanism for effectively coordinating action across government. Tourism Victoria's response to the second recommendation means it will not provide the type of comprehensive advice to government about how to best manage the risks that materialised during the 2006 strategy. Tourism Victoria did not complete a full review of the 2006 strategy and will restrict its review and advice to areas where it has direct control. Our findings show the significant risks are for areas requiring cross-government action, and its response does not adequately address these. Recommendations 3 to 5 cover Tourism Victoria's better understanding and explaining the economic indicators it uses to measure progress, and getting expert help to evaluate and review the strategy. All our reports are available on our website. If you have any questions about this or other reports, or if you have anything else you would like to discuss with us, including ideas for future audit topics, please call us on 03 8601 7000 or contact us via our website.